Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, Metazone, Rovi, and Mscribe, and today we're going to be talking about some Hypermall from Trac Network.
Yes. And NAT, right?
Yeah, and some NAT.
It's been a minute since we brought NAT up because, as you guys know, we've been heads down developing, so definitely tune into our podcast to
go deeper.
Yeah, know more about what it is we've been working on and direction of things, because it's very complex, right? But all very well strategically aligned for the amplification of things like NAT and UNATs and the DMT ecosystem overall, and like ordinals in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we've been on this path for the last couple of years now to, contribute to what this effort of building like a Bitcoin ecosystem, leveraging the ordinals protocol to introduce some novelty to this industry, this space, right? And consequentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe accidentally we've stumbled onto some solutions to some very big problems native to Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just going to say that we discovered Trac super early on in the ordinal space. It was like a 200,000 market cap, and it's done like 100x since then.
Yeah, that was one of the more crazy,
discoveries / realization of how important indexing is overall for Bitcoin.
Yeah, just seeing it all, like this like brand new fungible token protocol happening on Bitcoin, which nobody really thought would happen, the BRC20s, and then seeing a project like Trac being born from that.
Mm-hmm.
And still 2 years later, executing and delivering actually beyond like what the scope of that initial vision even was, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Initially, it was to create like this pure decentralized network of indexers to validate, these meta protocols native to Bitcoin. But now we're here building an entire network that's much more scalable.
Yeah.
And building applications that I think is very aligned with the ethos of decentralization, which is like a core primitive expectation, I think, for the Bitcoin core audience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bitcoiners tend to really emphasize like the importance of decentralization, I think, as opposed to the rest of the chains in our industry, right?
Yeah. So decentralization is important, but it really depends on what you're building.
For sure.
Yeah. So we discovered them early on, and ever since then, I mean, we've been chatting with Benny pretty often here and there, and he's been working on the Trac Network, which was released about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been supporting the runes ecosystem, starting with Dog. He's looking into adding more runes into the trading app as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool about this trading app is that you can now trade Bitcoin assets on Hypermall, and you get 25% of all trading fees are split with tap stakers. So purchase some tap, stake it within the application of Hypermall itself, and you get 25% of all the trading fees that occur on Hypermall. And so let's talk about what Hypermall is. So what is it? So it is in a trading environment that you're used to, sort of like in a centralized exchange. You list your assets there, people buy it, and that's like its focus. That's its core focus. But what's different about Hypermall is that it doesn't use a blockchain. It uses a DAG, a directed acyclic graph. And so that is sort of like a blockchain, but it's more like a tree of a blockchain. And so you download this application, and here's what that application looks like. So here's a few trading pairs that are available. Tap USDT. Here's Dog USDT, Gib, and that's it. So this is still kind of early, right? Mm-hmm. So Tap USDT, and so this is an application that is running locally on your computer. It's not a web app. Yeah. It's not communicating to servers.
Right.
You are actually running the smart contracts of each of these pairs locally on your machine. And so there's a little bit of resistance of like, man, I got to download something. It's like, yeah, so in this case, you do have to download something, but that it is because it is a decentralized network, right? In the same way, if you want to run a Bitcoin node, you have to download the Bitcoin node and run it on your computer.
Yeah, and then there's incentives built into this, right? Like by essentially downloading one of these, you're operating as a node, right? There's like a...
Well, that's a separate asset. So this is kind of like the front end that communicates directly to the smart contracts, but there's a separate thing that you download called the Trac Validator.
That's right. Yeah.
and that validator you run separately, but that validator is processing these transactions.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you're saying, it's outside of the expectations and norms of, your typical Web3 trading experience, right? Because it is the user experience and the flow of like something like a Binance, right? Or like a Hyperliquid or whatever.
Yeah.
But with the bones of something that, you would natively expect from something truly built with the core decentralization as like
Yeah.
part of the architecture of it.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this, and I was telling you, is like we're us as like our behavior are okay with downloading stuff, because all these wallets that we've downloaded to our browsers, those are all downloads, right? All these applications that we run on our computers, those are all downloads. So we're typically accustomed to downloading stuff. It's just when it comes to trading, right? You're not typically accustomed to download trading applications, and that's why there was some resistance here. But that was because they don't understand that you're running these smart contracts locally, and it's a completely decentralized app. Like, you're not really depending on anything other than people running Trac validators.
Correct.
So this is a completely different experience than what you're used to, right? Going to a web application and just trading there. But there's different kinds of risks, right? So when you connect your MetaMask or your Phantom wallet to a website, you are essentially trusting that website, right? That's what you're doing. And so here you need to trust Trac in order to download this thing. So there are trust requirements in pretty much everything that we do, but it's really no different than our day-to-day activities in running this stuff.
Okay, so what is the relevancy here for NAT holders, right? Because that's
it's a good question.
That's who we're talking to here, guys. Is if you guys, believe in the ethos of DMT, and like we talked about, inadvertently we've stumbled onto a pretty what we think is an impactful use case for NAT, as being that contributor second subsidy to the Bitcoin network, right? That's actively in motion. The NAT GMI portal here kind of really demonstrates that in real time. These tokens are being distributed by a block by block basis to miners of the Bitcoin network, right? Off of the same reward mechanism of Bitcoin itself.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so if you guys haven't heard of NAT before, definitely go to NAT GMI. Watch these two videos. These two videos were developed by the Trac ecosystem, and they're about 100 seconds long, and they do the best at explaining very quickly what NAT is about. But so the links will be in the description. But why are we talking about NAT in the context of the Hypermall?
Yeah.
There is going to be a vote coming up.
Okay.
And so they kindly shared a screenshot of what that vote is going to look like. And it says DMT NAT USDT trading pair on Hypermall. And so basically, should we do this or should we not do this? And so this will be live, I think, on June 7th, which is Saturday Central Time.
So by the time this video is posted tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah, it'll be posted tomorrow.
Yeah, so we need the NAT brigade to, essentially, along with us, like try and amplify the efforts and the understanding of like why this is important, right? Because, NAT, we're still working on the front of, non-KYC to get that technical integration finalized so that, there's another trading environment for this token. But of course, now with Hypermall, we've got to achieve this vote, right, to get into the system.
Yeah, so I guess another question that you might be asking is, how is this different than like the traditional ordinal experience of purchasing fungible tokens?
Yeah, and if you hold NAT, you're likely familiar with that experience, right?
Yeah. So let's just describe the differences between the two experiences. So when you are buying ordinal fungible tokens, you are buying packets of tokens, like they're in the form of NFTs. So when you list 1,000 tokens here and 10,000 tokens here as two separate NFTs, you either buy the 1,000 NFT token or the 10,000 NFT token.
Yeah, you can't buy.
You can't buy a portion or 50% of it or anything like that. It's one or the other. You buy both or none.
Yeah, so as a total package, that 1,000 tokens per the individual price of an individual token could be,
Yeah.
$2,000. So if you don't have $2,000,
Yeah, you can't play.
you're essentially priced out of the market, right?
Right.
Which is not good.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be able to fulfill the entire spectrum of buyers, which is people down to I only have a few dollars to I
Yeah.
have, millions of dollars.
Yeah, correct.
So up until now, that's been pretty challenging in the context of fungible tokens on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we call them fungible tokens on Bitcoin, but they don't really act fungible,
No,
right?
they mimic fungible use, right?
Yeah, you can break them down into smaller pieces, right? You go from 1,000 to 500. You can break them down, and that's why they're considered fungible.
But that requires another inscription,
Correct. Yeah.
which is another cost and
Yeah.
all this stuff, right? So this is the friction that, people who believe in this opportunity of building out an ecosystem native to Bitcoin are willing to deal with, like these layers of friction, right? But
Yeah.
for all this stuff to ever become like relevant to like the broader demographic of people, like, the normal everyday crypto user, it has to look and feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what Hypermall is. So instead of buying, one, two, or both of these assets, you list these assets instead, and then you list how much you want to sell, and then people can buy pieces of it off of that individual asset.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so you set your prices here, and you get listed in this order book, and then if you want to buy $1 worth, well, you can.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Yeah, so pending this approval through this community vote, I don't know, how long does it last? Like usually like 4 or 5 days, right?
Well, in the image here, it says about a week.
Okay, so we got a week. So yeah, we'll be out there, vocalizing, why this is important and trying to get this pushed through so that we can begin, this integration and get this token again. Now a new added environment. You go to NAT GMI, we'll have a new where to buy on this. Where's it at? There
Right
it is.
here.
Yeah, we'll add Hypermall here, and then through that, it's simply like a deposit process, right? You just you got to download the app
Mm-hmm.
if you want to use the interface, and you get a wallet as soon as it's downloaded.
Yeah, so the wallet is here. So here's the trading environment, and here's the wallet. And so the wallet supports some assets, GIB, TAP, USDT, and DOG. And
soon NAT.
And then NAT will be listed, and then you can just deposit the assets here. And then once they're deposited, you'll see a trading environment very much like this.
Yeah.
And then you can start buying and selling.
That's it. Yeah, it's like you're using a centralized exchange, but you are hosting it yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So this is definitely unique and interesting and novel. All the things that we think NAT represents, right? A unique, interesting, and novel interpretation of how to leverage, Bitcoin block data in its like purest of forms in the according to the DMT framework. So
Correct.
I think it's a good, expansion as far as where you can get access to this token, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the more access points for the NAT token, the better, right? And so this is one of the more unique ways to access the NAT token, assuming it goes through the vote here. But yeah, this has been the Trac Network and talking about Hypermall. If you have any questions about how this works, definitely let us know in the comment section below. If you found anything that you think we should talk about, also add it in the comments. Other than that, appreciate you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next video.